It's a bit bright, but I won't put my glasses on. I'll put this down. Oh, actually, then you won't see me. I'll put it down a little bit. Although I am in the shade, the sun is shining in my eyes. Got lots of beautiful clouds out there. So nice. Yeah, so I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, I just wanted to talk about, I had a few, maybe I had one or two comments about, us older guys being able to defend ourselves or not. I think one of my subscribers says, no, you can't. So maybe he meant in general, we can't, no, you can't, meaning, no, you can't defend yourself against a younger opponent, a younger attacker who, wants to hurt you. That's not so bad, but I got emails and other people, trolls, no, not this guy, the other people, saying, one guy said, I'd knock you out. And he said, with one punch, I'd knock you out, old man. And another guy said, what did he say? He said something similar, something negative, saying, no, you can't defend yourself at the age of 60 against a 20-year-old man. Who do you think you are, or something like that. Or maybe not who do you think you are, or that kind of vibe. I got another comment which I won't mention, like the K word was mentioned. Like, in the street, I'd K you. And something like, not similar to old man, there's another word, like old fart or something like that. But people are so, as I said, I'm used to this stuff. You never get used to it, but I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised. People talk like this. But what is surprising is not surprising, but I can't put myself into the mind of another human being. I can't say. I can only talk for myself. And I don't know whether it's my ADHD, my Sicilian upbringing, the specific upbringing that I had with a father that was like, like not a monster, but he's a loving dad, but you couldn't mess around with him. He was short, stocky, like he could lift like 100 kilos in 2 bags. Forget about health and safety in Sicily. He used to carry two 50-kilo bags, when he used to do the building work, work on the lorry. Very tough guy. He used to live, when he was 8 years of age, 8 to 10, I think. He didn't want to go to school anymore. He wanted to work. He loved horses, so he wanted to be. He was like hired as a child, a worker, because my grandmother was alone. My grandfather my dad's dad passed away when he was 6 of pneumonia, when he was only 27 years of age. And he said, Mom, I want to work. He was a little child, I think 9 or 10, he tells me, something like that. Couldn't be that young. Anyway, he was young. And so he went to work on a farm. He used to sleep outside on a ledge, on a concrete ledge. He was bitten by mosquitoes. He had malaria, I think, on and off. Well, he had malaria for 2 years until the Americans came. The Americans invaded or whatever, or sorry, liberated Sicily. And they saw this child with a fever, and they gave him 2 tablets. It was gone. Like for years, I think for 2 years, the local people said, oh yeah, try drinking your urine. So he drank his urine, that didn't work. Try this, try that, that didn't work. So the guy suffered for 2 years. He said 2 years, he had malaria, he had a fever and stuff. Anyway, he's tough. He grew up tough. And he grew up nothing like myself, but his character rubbed off on me. And you know, as a child, you always want to be like your dad, you know. But he was so tactless. But I suppose when I was young, sometimes I didn't like it. Obviously, you know, it's hard to get used to. But I remember a few times I said, like, I might have said, "Oh, don't worry, I can do what you do," and then he would say, "Mangum belo de cogliona," like it means, I don't, not even one hair of my bollocks do you resemble me, or something like that. It would say things that were so brutal. You know, like for example, once when he was older, 70s or 80s, 80s I think, I would say, "Bah, you have to take your medication, your omeprazole, because if you have too much acid all the time and you don't take medication, you know, if you constantly have acid, you can get like cancer in the esophagus." His answer is, "Then I'll fuck off." You know, he he was quite brutal. Like his words were quite brutal. But he wasn't always like that. You know, there were times that he was more loving and more, but he was just really rough because his mum was like that, and he grew up without a father, and he had to be the strong one. You know, he had a sister, and he had to become that parent. You know, and that's all he knew. He was illiterate. He can only sign his name, my dad, and you know, I'm quite proud of what he did, what he achieved. He came to the UK, sorry, to London, and he worked really hard with my mum, and yeah, they managed to buy a house eventually. And you know, people who go to university and stuff like that, you know, they might not get to the stage where they even buy their own home. Nowadays it's more difficult. So, but it did actually rub off on me, his behavior. Even when he was 80, 82 or something, there was a guy with a knife, with a kitchen knife, that my dad passed the house, and there was a guy who had mental health problems, and he said to him, because my dad was walking with a little cap and like those old jackets like from the 1920s or whatever, 30s, I don't know, and so he didn't look like ordinary person, like the modern person. So this Indian man in his 20s, he said, "Go back home to your country, go back to your country," or something. My dad got pissed off. He says, "You go back to your country." So, and he lifted his stick because he had a cane. He said, "You go back to your country." And apparently the old lady, the grandmother, I assume, went inside and gave him a big like kitchen knife, and he held the kitchen knife, and my dad stood firm. And he, because I was living in China, then he told me when I came back, and I said to him, "You shouldn't have done that, because he's a 20-year-old man. He can kill you easily, even without a knife." He said, "Yeah, kill me. I'll thrash him before he comes near me." He had a Zimmer frame to protect himself, and a stick. But his spirit inside was really strong, you know. So, what has this got to do with anything? I think if you have that spirit, I'm not saying a bastard energy, but you have to be a little bit like that. You have to have an evil, not an evil streak, but there has to be a demon inside that you can conjure up at will from the recesses of hell, from the depths of hell. And yeah, he had that, and he maybe he gave that to me. And if you add to that ADHD, that nervousness, that anxiety, it's not a good mix. It's not a good mix at all. Luckily, I was a really good kid. You know, I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I'm saying I was shy. I never bullied anyone. I was bullied at school by black kids mainly, and the white kids didn't trouble me, but mainly the black kids, you know, got bullied, got punched, and stuff taken away from me. I had a ring once. When I was 17 in my sixth form, and 6 black kids came from. One was from that school. The other 6 were from another school, and they were about 19, 20, and they just took the ring off me, and they said tax, the black tax, or something like that. I couldn't do anything. I was so scared, and that was my dad's ring. When I went back home to tell him, and he was upset. You know, I was like tearful because they took that away from me. Well, anyway, but you know, after all these incidences started to happen, I was bullied, and to be honest, it's mainly black guys that did it to me. I went to a hip hop kind of thing, a rave in Clapham Junction. It's a kind of park area, and there was a hip hop thing. And my friend said, "Oh, let's go." The day before, my mum got me a gold chain, and you couldn't really see it. Maybe you could see a little bit from here. It wasn't outside. And we were watching someone doing some break dancing, and one guy just came, boom, and just took it away from me. Maybe in his 30s or something. He was an older guy with a beard, and 2 black guys behind me. So I couldn't do anything. I couldn't chase him. And at the age of 19, you know, I didn't want to fight or anything like that. And you know, you're scared of these guys, you know, black guys with knives or something. But these things accumulated. Things kept happening. Road rage, this and that. And yeah, I got to a point where when I was stabbed by another black guy, I flipped. I changed my way of thinking because I was doing martial arts at the time. I was doing Wing Chun and Aikido, and it didn't prepare me for being stabbed in a real situation. So after that, I didn't go too deeply, but in a way deeply with my ADHD. I brainstormed, you know, how would you be able to defend yourself without using the martial arts, by using common sense self-defense techniques. And so I I looked at the way actual crimes happen. So, like, if you go to the martial arts class, attacker punches you here, you block, you do something here, and then you attack, and you whatever. That's not how a fight happens. A fight happens, or a conflict or an assault happens a lot earlier. So you have to study the way criminals work, how they choose a victim, and how, for example, murders or rapes, how they actually happen, by looking at the crime reports. And so that's how you this is a conflict of the day of now. But you know, certain martial arts, they were created in the past, and the types of crimes and the environments that we're in now are totally different. So boxing is really good, but it doesn't save you from a knife attack. You can be a really brilliant boxer and you can get killed by a knife. You know, so you have to. The best self-defense is the self-defense that takes all of these situations into account. And so most people are kind of cowards, aren't they? The criminals are cowards. They won't fight someone. They don't want to fight. They want to choose a victim and take something away from that victim. That's what all crime is. So, kill you, they've taken your life away. Grape you, they've taken your virginity or your confidence away. You know, they've taken your intimacy or whatever away. Take jewelry away. Take your possessions away. You know, even when people bully you, they've taken your confidence away. They've taken your happiness away. That's what all crime is, taking something. They're robbers of something. So it's always going to be man versus woman, young person against older person, able body against maybe disabled, multiple attack against one person. even if it's too evenly, say, they have an even height, even age, the same amount of, say, strength, speed, or whatever, the criminal will always have the upper hand, because maybe the person will be ambushed, or the person doesn't know they're about to be attacked. So they're always playing catch up. The victim is always playing catch up, and so there always has to be an advantage for the person who attacks you. And there's something called action reaction. So action always usually beats, like 99% of the time or whatever. Those are my statistics. But action always beats reaction. So if someone decides to punch you, you'll get knocked out, or you'll be punched. The person will hit you, because the person is here, right? This is the person, and they decide to punch you. When they decide to punch you, a message from the brain goes down to the arm, and that takes, let's say, a split second, and then the arm is triggered, to punch, so the shoulder and everything, boom, then you punch. So the whole thing takes about, let's say, a quarter of a second, let's say, just for argument's sake. But you only saw an eighth of a second. The other eighth of a second was the thought. So the thought that takes an eighth of a second, and another eighth of a second it takes to punch you. All you saw was 1/8, the movement, right? So action beats reaction. So you realize when you see this move, you realize, and you've only got an eighth of a second. So when you realize this, it takes, let's say, an eighth of a second for your brain to send a message to your muscles, your skeletal muscles or your skeletal area, and then it takes another eighth of a second for you to react. It's too late, because an eighth of a second has gone. So that when the punch arrives, you've spent an eighth of a second moving. So by that time you would have been punched. So action almost always beats reaction. The criminal knows they're going to punch you. The criminal knows they're going to grape you. The criminal knows they're going to kill you. So they have an advantage. You can cut this, shall we say, the time that it takes for you to react, you can cut it down by using your brain. Even though action always beats reaction, but there are times where action doesn't beat reaction. And so maybe I can talk about that in another video. So the people who said that if you're an older man, like I'm 58, going to be 60 soon, and I think I can defend myself against a younger opponent. Now, obviously, somebody who's 20, 25 years of age has power. If he's trained, a trained person has a power, strength, speed, the right coordination, endurance, has everything going for him. If you have that kind of person and he wants to hurt you, then you're in trouble. So, like, as a 58-year-old man, I don't have, I do have maybe the speed, but maybe I don't have the endurance. But there's always something lacking. I'm not at the same level, so I'm not saying I can get into a ring with a boxer who's 25 years of age. I'm not trained to be a boxer. I know a little bit, but not at the level where I can get into a ring. I would never get into a ring with anybody. So I wouldn't fight that person, play their game. I wouldn't stand there and go like this. I get knocked out. So, you either have a knife, you kick them in the balls, you spit at their face, you do something to distract them. You do what? Those are a few ways that you can do things. But what I'm saying is, you don't play their game. If you play their game, you lose. You will lose. So obviously, if you take a 25-year-old man and myself, a 58-year-old man, like, he has too much of an advantage. I wouldn't dare get into a ring or want to fight. I would not want to fight with a 30-year-old man for a younger man, because they can hurt me. And so, I'm a chicken, I would back down. But when it comes to defending myself, the people who contacted me, I mean, obviously, two of you guys are trolls. Another guy, was it a woman? I think you're mistaken. And then one person who said, no, you can't. Okay, let me just explain myself. So you're thinking that if, like, there's a 25-year-old guy and he's nuts and he wants to K-word my son, the thing that means the most to me almost in my life, you're saying that I wouldn't be able to defend my son. I wouldn't be able to box. I wouldn't be able to lift weights. I wouldn't be, but believe me, from inside me, that tiny flame would become a fire and a demon would come out. That person, all right, so you're saying that you can't fight against another person. Of course you can't fight because you don't want to fight. You don't have that testosterone, that energy, that viciousness. But depending on the leverage, if the person wants to kill your daughter, and you're the only one, or your son, you're the only one in the way, you're telling me that a fire from inside won't erupt, I mean, you can defend yourself, when it comes to somebody really wanting to hurt yourself. You're not fighting. This is not fighting. This is not sport or fighting. This is a question of life and death. And if they go through you, they're going to take your son or daughter out. So what do? You're going to say, I can't fight, I'm too old. No, no way. And I do realize that some people might think, oh, okay, you think you can fight, but you can't. No, I know I can. Well, I don't know, I can't fight. That's for sure. But what does it take? Somebody, like, they try and punch you, they don't knock you out, you defend yourself, and you're close in. You can bite them, you can gorge the eye, you can attack the throat and kill them. They will die. If you hit the throat, they're dead. And I'm not saying like this, if you grab it and you collapse the windpipe, they are dead because they can't breathe anymore. If someone bites you on your face or it's absolutely, or your head or your ear, it's absolutely painful. If you get kicked in the shin, it's really painful. If you get kicked in the bollocks, that is painful. The person can collapse. It's not like boxing where I'm gonna do an uppercut here. You don't have to have much. A boxer, for example, doesn't have to have much courage. They have to have really good technique, and every once in a while maybe they get knocked out, and they don't feel anything because they're all over the place. But imagine getting kicked in the shin and just standing there and someone keeps kicking you in the shin or the bollocks, or sorry, the groin. That's when you know you've got courage, and that's when you know this person is absolutely crazy. If you kick someone in the shins, they just don't move. Kick someone in the groin, they don't move. Then you're in big trouble. But usually the way guys will attack you is like the right punch and try and knock you out. Sucker punch. So you have to have good awareness. You have to, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 5:30 or whatever. You have to have awareness first, so you can cut into the reaction time that you need. It's because action always beats reaction. Almost always. There are ways to cut into that time, because otherwise you're playing catch up. You're overwhelmed. One of the punches will get through, and you're in trouble. So I don't think you can defend yourself against an attacker, a younger attacker. Definitely. The thing is, can you, would you get into a ring and fight with a younger person? I wouldn't. I said I'm a chicken, you know. Why would I do that and get knocked out, you know, and have damage to my brain? It's stupid, you know. Or even get, you know, do some jiu-jitsu and get like choked out and then have some bloody stroke or something. Because as you get older, your cardiovascular system doesn't work in the same way as a young person. When you're young, you can get choked out, nothing will happen. But when you're older, especially black guys as well, they suffer from cardiovascular problems, stroke and stuff like that. I don't think it's a good idea to get choked, you know, get choked out and stuff like that. That's just my personal opinion. But you know, chokes and things like that, you can avoid them as well, using really underhand techniques. So yeah, so I just wanted to say, you know, I can't speak for everyone else, but I can speak for only for myself, that I would defend my son or daughter against anybody, you know. I would. If you say, right, if you say, okay, well, I'll try, that implies an element of doubt. You've lost already. If you say, well, there's a 25-year-old guy or 20-year-old guy, and he's really strong, he can beat me up and kill me, but I'll try. You've lost. You've lost already. You don't go into a conflict situation thinking you're going to lose. You go in there, and the mentality you have to have is, there's a book called this name, Kill or Be Killed. You have to have that mentality. If I don't kill him, he'll kill me. But I mean, you only reserve that for someone who's coming at you with a knife and wants to kill you. You don't do that if somebody gives you a bad look or calls you a wanker or something. No, only as a last, like, absolute last resort. Like, you know you're going to go to jail maybe for a few years, but this person is going to kill you. Like, 100% is going to kill you if you don't do something. I mean, the best thing to do is run away. But you're older, the person will catch you up. If the person doesn't want to kill you, you run away, and they'll just stay there. Their pride is intact, you know, their ego is intact, and so you've lost, but you haven't lost your life. What I'm saying is, if you try to de-escalate and nothing works, you say, sorry, yes, I'm a wanker, I'm an idiot, sorry, man, you know, old man, I'll fucking kill you. I'm sorry, man, yeah, I know, I'm an old man, and I know you can kill me, please forgive me. If all that doesn't work,